I'm here to talk a little bit about a roofing project that just got completed. The house behind me is obviously my house, and we had a roof up there for a fairly long period of time, and we had to dispose of it and put on new roofing. And the roof really served two purposes for us. The first purpose is obviously, shelter, prevention of leaks going into the house, and so forth. And the configuration of our house is fairly different than for most homes. Every room on the top floor has cathedral ceilings, and as a result, the roof goes up and down and up and down. And if the roof isn't taken care of properly, if the installation is off just by a little bit, there's risk of water pooling in some areas, there's risk of leakage. And with our prior roof, even though it lasted a fairly decent amount of time, we found some leakage problems, and when we went up on the roof, we found a lot of other problems. Things such as rust, the pooling of water, even rodents that were up there. We called in a person to inspect the roof, and they basically said, get a new roof. So not knowing anything about roofing, first thing I did was, read as much as I could, still recognizing that there were a lot of questions I needed to ask and probably wouldn't remember all of them. So what I did do was go to two websites. I went to Home Advisor and I went to Yelp, and I just researched all of those roofing companies that had 5 stars, read a ton of reviews, and came up with the 10 what I considered to be the best of all of the roofing companies that were available to do this type of job. All 10 of them responded positively to do the job, and basically came out here, and I spoke with all 10. What I'd like to do first just is to say something about the first 9. I didn't say anything about price. I said that it was important to get a good roof, and there was a second reason to have more than just a high quality roof, and you'll see it by the way the house is situated on the property. It also becomes a showcase roof, and you'll see that, as I said, in a little bit. Of the 9 companies, basically the price situation were almost all compatible. They said if you went with these shingles, it would cost approximately this much. If you went with a higher end shingles, it would be around this much. One of the companies, the largest of all, came in extremely high in their estimate, either because they just are used to high profit margins, or it's their way of paying overhead being so large. I discounted them right off the spot. 2 of the other companies, or maybe 3, really never examined the roof. They used some sort of a shot either from Google Earth or Zillow so they could see the roof. They went up, made a cursory inspection, came down, and either that night or the next day got a bid. And as I said, most of them came in about the same. They said if you go with these type of shingles, it would cost in this area, these type of shingles in this area. A few of the companies came back a second time to demonstrate what type of shingles, what they looked like, and showed samples. A few of them said that you had other problems up there, like the rust, some of the flashings, and so forth. But to me, at least, everything seemed to be fairly just cursory. But after the 9th interview, I was just exhausted, and I wasn't going to do the 10th one. And I was going to finally go with one of them, not totally pleased with my selection, but figured that was the best I could do. The phone rang, and on the phone was P.R.I. Premier. And I spoke to their president, whose name, at least nickname, is Aggie, and he talked to me about coming out to see the roof. And I was really hesitant. I was just tired. My wife, however, whose background is in engineering, said, if you're not completely satisfied, talk to the man. You have nothing to lose, just some time. Aggie came out the next day, and coming in, he sat down with me and my wife, and he laid out a whole bunch of things that he wanted to talk about. And it was more than just the roof. He said there are things that we needed to talk about: the fireplace. I have 5 windows up there, skylights, and he needed to talk about that. And so he went up on the roof, he took lots of pictures, he came down, we sat around, and what I expected to be 10, 15-minute conversation turned into about an hour and a half. And it turned into an hour and a half not because he was selling, but because he kept talking about things that raised questions that I hadn't thought of. And it made me feel comfortable that he was talking about things that would make me more satisfied with P.R.I. Premier than any other company. There are a lot of things that go into a business relationship, obviously. The cost of doing business, the reviews of the company, but also, very importantly, is the rapport that you have with the people that are going to be working on your house. My feeling was, with Aggie, if the other people in his firm were like him, I would be in very comfortable hands. He pointed out a lot of things. He gave me estimates of what the costs would be, and he gave me and showed various types of samples. And what he ended up doing for essentially a similar cost from the other companies was way beyond the pale. First of all, the roof that I had prior was a fiber shake roof, which is very difficult to peel off. It's hard work. The people that came here worked straight through, day after day. Their cleanups were impeccable. They were very, very sociable, very nice, and extremely hardworking. They looked through the roof. They found areas where water had been pooling. They found areas where there had been dry rot. And photographs of everything was taken, so there were no surprises. And Aggie and his folks made sure that I was aware of what the potential expenses could be with any of the changes that they were looking at. And then, having filled out all of the things that we believed had to be done, came the selection of the shingles. And it was very important that the shingles looked really well. And that's because of the way this house is situated. To get to this house, you drive all the way up into the hills. But once you get all the way up, to get to the house, you have to come down a long driveway. The first thing you see is the roof. And the roof actually becomes a showcase for the entire house. And if the roof looks cheap, or if the color scheme is wrong, then it gives an indication of what the house is about, and therefore becomes a very important factor for the selection of the shingle, the color, and of course making sure that everything is put and placed in the proper way. What I'd like to do now is show you what it looks like when we go, if you were coming down my driveway. Let's take a walk. We are just partially down the driveway, but even partially down, you can see that the most prominent thing that hits your eyes first about the house is the roof. The roof is extremely important. One of the things is that it really becomes a showcase. The roof that was prior to this was a dark brown roof. And essentially, when you drove down the driveway, even when the roof was in good condition, it just looked like one big brown structure. Aggie pointed that out. He said, you know, you really need to think in a way that because of the prominence of the roof and because of the type of shingle that you're using, that people can notice it in a very positive manner. So, taking Aggie's advice, this was the end result. And I really shouldn't use the word end, because Aggie never ends. He's always calling. He's making sure things are on top of everything. We're looking at putting in solar. He insists, and I do mean the word insists, that he be involved so that he'll ensure that wherever the solar panels or equipment goes, that the roof itself will reinforce it. So really what P.R.I. Premier represents is not only a company that provides a high amount of quality, considerate and professional workers, but a commitment. I hate to use it because it sounds like a cliche, but it's a commitment to excellence, that they're always around. I do get a lot of texts from Aggie. We go back and forth. I may have a question and he's there to give me an answer. And if I say, are you available? I'm waiting for the doorbell to ring almost immediately. It's an incredible company. I've recommended this company to family and to friends that are thinking about roofing, and I most certainly will continue to do so. And I look forward to seeing Aggie, because he said he's going to be coming out every once in a while to take a look and make sure that everything that was promised works, that the slope is in such a manner that there will be no pooling of water, that everything is covered so that there won't be dry rot. He's going to do has done all new flashing, not only for the skylights, but for the chimney, new gutters, everything. And basically all of that was in the whole price. And the price was a very, very fair one. It was similar to the other ones, with the exception that P.R.I, Premier, provided the type of relationship that people like me really look forward to. Amen.